Hey, this is Gabe Abelson, and you're watching the Letterman Podcast.
Welcome once again to the Letterman Podcast. My name is Mike Chisholm. Okay, we've got a Friends of the Show episode coming up right now, and it's a little bit set up haphazardly. I'm seeing that now. There we go. Adjusting the desk, and we are ready to go. We've got 3 friends in the waiting room and 1 special guest about to show up. We're going to talk a little bit about, all things late night. It's fun to talk with our friends of the show, and we're going to bring them in right now. The first one that we're going to bring in right now is the very first guest of the Letterman Podcast. You love him? You love him? You like him? You love him? You can't live without him? Darin Cox. There he is right there. Welcome, my friend.
Hi.
Hi. How you doing, man?
I'm peachy. It's been a long time since we've done this.
Oh, it's been far too long. Our second guest coming in right now is the official historian of Warren Zevon and, of course, good friend of the show, Adam Unger. Adam is here. He is entering right now, I believe. There he is right there. Adam Unger, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Our third guest is, she is a podcaster in her own right. And I'm not sure if it's, against her will or not, but it certainly is coming right out from her heart. She is a TV historian and she has latched on to our little community. And we couldn't be happier to have Allison Lips, who is joining us right now. There is guest number 3, friend of the show, Allison Lips is here. Welcome, Allison.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. And now I'm going to tell our very special guest that he can join anytime. And I told him that I said to come a little bit late because I might build him up a little bit. Do we have any predictions as to who the special guest might be?
Did you get Jed, who wrote the article himself?
I did not. Oh, and Allison, it's like you know how to build something. We are going to be talking about the springboard off of our discussion today is a story that was on latenighter.com that Jed Rosenzweig wrote. Yes. I always want to say it like it's German, like Rosenzweig. That's how I want to say it, but that's I believe that's how it's supposed to be. But Jed wrote an article talking about Letterman. My next guest is returning on Netflix. Here are some of our dream guests. That is what kind of spawned the idea of this discussion. So Jed is a very good guest, but no, it is not Jed. It is not Jed today. Any other guesses about who the guest might be?
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen? Wasn't that just lovely? Like, go back and watch that clip. Right. Of the last late night, and you watch Dave, how excited Dave is, and then how the audience just went ballistic, knowing that Bruce Springsteen is gonna finish and sign off late night with David Letterman. That was such a good moment. I love that.
I love how he's like, we've had pretty much every guest on this show we've ever wanted, except for one.
Yep.
Until tonight.
Yep.
And I was like, ooh, wow, who could it possibly be? And wow, did he blow the roof off the dump?
They did blow the roof, and he did. When Bruce is on the piano, on top of the piano, and Paul's playing that keyboard part. Like, I mean, that's the thing I love about that. That song has an essential keyboard part to it.
Yes.
And Paul played it so well, and whatever setting he used for it, and then seeing Bruce above him, dancing, and it was just and playing guitar. It was such a wonderful, wonderful moment in the history of television.
If I had known, I would have stood on the piano years ago.
Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Can you tell us anything about Warren going into the Hall of Fame that we're allowed to talk about? Any plans for the ceremony itself, or what's going to be happening yet, or are we still mum's the word?
Mum is still the word on that. So, yep. The induction is Sunday, November 8th at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles. We'll be streaming on Disney Plus live, I believe, and there'll also be some sort of edited thing on ABC. So
streaming live on the Disney Plus. That's good. That's good news.
Yeah, it is good news. I always think the Hall of Fame shows are pretty fun. They always have a good mix of guests, but unfortunately, I don't have any information on who's performing or inducting or anything of that nature that I can share at the moment.
Up here in Canada, I try and catch it every year, but we always get it like delayed. Like it's out 2 weeks later, or even sometimes a month later, and it's on the same carrier. Like I don't know if it's actually HBO itself, but it's on the same carrier that carries HBO up here. So I love the idea that we'll be able to watch it live. This week, I just hung out with a band, a Canadian band called Odds or The Odds, depending on your persuasion. And really cool story. Back in the early '90s, um, this Canadian band who worshipped people like Warren Zevon, including Warren himself, wrote this funny, irreverent, not quite comedy music, but also did not take itself too seriously. Really, really good stuff. And Warren discovered them, took a liking to them, and ended up taking them on the road with him. They backed him a few times. He performed on one of their the album Bedbugs, which is in my opinion, their best album. He performed on that, and talking to the lead singer this week, it was really cool. He had a lot of really awesome things to say about Warren. I actually want him to have him on the show here, and I want to connect him and Jordan too, because I think they would be very kindred. Yeah. Anyway, that was a cool moment this week. I'm saying that
rewatching.
What's that?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was rewatching. I believe it was Longmire, the TV series Longmire, which is on Netflix. And if you haven't watched Longmire, it's one of the greatest TV shows. It's like a modern day police drama set in the West. And anyway, they included Warren's cover of Back in the High Life.
Oh, that's such a good song.
And I forgot how great Warren did it. It's like he just completely made that song his own. And
That's such
it
a
was
great
just
song.
fantastic. I rewound it and watched it just to hear that again. I don't have that on. I know it's readily available on the Spotify's, and you can listen to it on YouTube and all that stuff. But it was just really something else. And the combination of that song and what was going on the TV show really meshed very well. I miss Warren.
I don't know that I have that in my Apple Music, and I'm looking for the version of it right now there it is right there. And we are adding that one to library. Very, very well done. Allison, who was your most recent guest on Greetings from the Idiot Box?
Adam.
Was it Adam?
Adam Neduff.
Adam Neduff was your latest guest. That's fantastic. He's a friend of the show. We could bring him on here. But that was a terrible segue into the idea that we're now going to bring our special guest on. Nobody guessed who it is, but here we go. Oh my gosh. The man, the myth, the legend himself.
Yes.
Mark Malkoff is here.
Oh, hi.
How
Thank
happy
you
are you
so
guys?
much.
Now I'm glad I'm here. This is
Hello, Pennsylvania boy. Good to
no
see you,
offense
Mark.
to Adam and to Allison, but holy crap, I've got 1,000 questions for Mark Malkoff.
Oh goodness, let's do it. Yeah. I've been in this room for 4 years writing my book that's coming out, and Dave Letterman is heavily new stuff in the book featured. So yeah, I haven't really talked to many people. I talked to Mike a little bit. He's helping me get my social skills back. So yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna help you with this as much as we possibly can to launch this thing and talk about it as much as we possibly can.
Oh,
People
you're
can
nice.
pre-order the book already, right? First off, what's the book called? And can people pre-order now?
Yeah, it's called Love Johnny Carson, and it's being published by Dudden Books, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. And the Love Johnny Carson title, and it's coming out October 21st, 2 days before what would be Johnny's 100th birthday. And it really does help me a lot with algorithms and just press. If people do pre-order the book, it would mean a lot to me. But I was gonna say, yeah, that title, I just talked to 400 people plus people, and so many of them would say, I love Johnny Carson. And I was just like shocked how many people that I talked to, because I just didn't really know much about him other than some of the negative books maybe. And it was just a completely different man from me talking to all these people and people that worked with him, people that were friends. And I'm like, dang, he's completely portrayed different to the people I've talked to. So, yeah, and then we do a deep dive into Dave Letterman and Leno and just all this other stuff that's never been reported. So, definitely the guest, the Tonight Show for the 30 years, Johnny's retirement, and just a lot of stuff excited about. So,
Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, like really,
Oh, thanks.
up to this point, the definitive book. You talk about the moments that you're just speaking about here, the Carson's
Mm.
when Carson, left the stage for the last time, is of course Bill Carter's book, is a friend of yours, and I mean, you guys are cohorts at
Yeah.
LateNighter.com. But the idea that another book is going to come out, and from this perspective, with this much time,
Yeah.
behind us, having known now what happened with Late Night, how it did expand, and it's now we're watching
Yeah.
it contract again, and
Yeah,
all of that. I'm
unfortunately.
so excited, and the fact that it's
Oh,
you,
thanks.
Mark. I mean, and all of us here, and I'll
Oh,
introduce you
you're
to all
nice.
the because
Thank
all three of the
you.
people that are here right now, and many others who listen to or watch our show or even tolerate our show, are just you are like up on this pedestal, and the idea that you get to write a
So,
book about Johnny and get to have your say and collect all of this amazing information,
mm,
and gather it and then present it to us. It's so great, Mark. I cannot tell you how happy I am for you to
I
be doing
felt
this.
for the years just complete fear that I'm hoping or that I do this justice. David Ritz, who did Paul Schaefer's book and Don Rickles and all this, that it's did the book with me. So it's by Mark Malkoff with David Ritz. And having, I'd never done a book. Johnny and the Tonight Show just seemed such a heavy subject. But just I felt a responsibility just to really get this right, and having somebody that's been through 65 books and that would sat down with Don Rickles, sat down with Schaefer. This was very different. David had never done anything like this before. I didn't know him. I just reached out to five or six authors and that I liked, and I was just like, I said, I have all this information about Carson, and David Ritz was like, how do you see the book? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't. I have the information. I don't really know. We just really hit it off. I didn't know expectations, and then yeah, we got a publishing deal, which was really nice. And then to a couple of really nice things happened. One is I'm able to use from the PBS American Masters from Johnny Carson 2012, which Dave Letterman participated in. I was able to use transcripts from stuff that wasn't like raw, like stuff that has never been broadcast, that was not broadcast. I mean, spoke to these people sometimes for like, an hour or two, and only, maybe a minute or two got in. So
Yep.
I had that. And then Jim McCauley, who was the talent coordinator of The Tonight Show for comedy, he wrote an unpublished manuscript, and his son, James, let me use that. And there's crazy stuff in there. Like nothing scandalous, but stuff like I'm just like my jaw was dropping when he was talking about Dave's debut and how many times he did audition for the show and didn't get it. Like I had no idea, and just the drama of him guest hosting too. I had no idea, and just to hear this perspective from Jim, who was there. I mean, it was pretty incredible just to after the podcast just to work on this book, because like I'd say like at least like 60-70% is new stuff that was I didn't do on the podcast. So
Wow.
yeah, maybe it's a little bit more like 50%, but like it's definitely mostly a good chunk is new stuff. So I just went to town, and hopefully people will like it.
This is really cool. Like that was actually going to be one of my questions. And we're going to do an episode, by the way, after the book has come out and we've consumed it.
Oh, wow, thank
We're
you.
going to do an episode then. So like, there's going to be lots
Yeah,
of love from this program for the book as it comes
I
out,
appreciate
and
it.
just enjoying the process with you. Like this is great. That feeling of that anticipation that you have right now, knowing this thing is coming out. It's great to kind of share
Oh
that with you right now
gosh.
because it's going to be
Yeah.
awesome.
I hope
It's going to be.
I'm really nervous. I just don't feel again. It's a responsibility, and just to try to, I mean, I do feel like I got everything right. Like I try to triple check for like four times. People would sometimes tell me outrageous things, or not outrageous things, but like things that I was like, I have to verify this.
Yeah.
And in some cases, if I would be able to get through to sources, and I'm like, okay, this didn't happen, or this did happen, and so it's a lot of that, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But thank you for your kind words. And yeah, October 21st, it's like in 2 months or so.
Yeah, it's going to
It'll
come
be
real
out.
fast.
So yeah,
And also you're the host of Inside Late Night on LateNighter.com. It's one of the
yeah.
best podcasts out there.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks.
oh,
We have a new season coming out in late September. So we're on hiatus now, but I've been recording episodes. So yeah, we have some good stuff that have been yeah, some really good guests, but like I love talking to the Letterman like people like Spike Ferris did in here in the stories, and
Yep.
definitely like all the late night shows, but there's something like a kinship of when I'm talking to the some of the Letterman people, I think for sure. So
It's the family. It's the family. Oh, by the way, we're going to do a shout out. Daniel Flaherty, who was a cameraman for CBS for decades, just retired. My note to him was, I don't think you could have timed it any more perfect.
hmm.
And
Yeah,
so we'll give a
gosh.
quick shout out to him and and from the Letterman family, of course.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this, Mark. I'm going to introduce you to our panel here because I don't know that you've met all of them or not.
I know who all of you are, so yeah, I mean,
There we
that's
go.
cool. I'll take the yeah,
Darin Cox hosts the Irritable Dad Syndrome podcast,
of
and
course.
Gigantic, he was our very first guest on the Letterman podcast. Adam Unger, the official Warren
Of
Zevon
course.
historian,
Yeah.
and good friend as well. Allison Lips, TV historian,
Yeah.
student of David Bianculli. She loves when I make sure I make that distinction, but host of Greetings from the Idiot Box. And I've just always said this. I absolutely love that we've got a gal who is much our junior, who is interested in this stuff still, and
Very cool.
is carrying the torch that we will hopefully pass to her one day. I absolutely love that you exist, Allison, and all of whom
Oh,
are
wait,
we're all
Mike,
big fans of yours.
that
What's that?
implies I'm not currently carrying the torch.
Well, maybe she'll rip it from our hands, but we all want a chance to run around the arena
Yeah.
with this thing, and
Oh, I should mention, I forgot to mention also, Meryl, Marco, and Meryl helped me out on the book a bunch. I mean, like we went back and forth and really helped me with clarity on some things. So she's featured in the book as well from a Letterman standpoint. And I used some stuff from Rob Burnett, him talking stories and stuff. So yeah, there's definitely really good, and like Jim McCauley wrote about Buddy Mora, who is Dave's guy, and we talk about manager, we talk about how what Buddy what they were kind of like doing behind the scenes to push Dave. So yeah.
wow, that's fantastic. And by the way, any of the panel, if you all want to jump in and talk to Mark, because
Oh
I know
yeah, please.
you've all kind of said
Again,
to me privately, "Hey, I'd love
I
to talk to Mark one day."
oh
Jump
gosh,
in.
I'm so honored to talk to any of you. I'm been in my New York City apartment for 4 years, like barely like socializing other than my wife and my cats, and like Christine's been amazing. I think she's yeah, excited for me to get back out into the public a little bit.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
absolutely
please,
have a question, and
let's
that
do it.
is, how do you know when you have done enough research? Because in my mind, I see you at your table and you're looking at your thousands of blue post-it notes, and you're like, okay, that's everything. I've found everything.
Sure.
I've never, and all the episodes that I've listened to of both the
Oh,
podcast,
yeah, I
the
see what
Johnny
you're
Carson
saying.
podcast,
Yeah,
and your late nighter.
yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
stump people. I've heard people ask, how did you know that? I mean,
I
when do you know when it's too much or you've got enough research? Because
I'd
you are
rather
the
have
man
I'd
when it
rather
comes to
have
research.
too much and not use it. Like I've done that with certain people that I've panicked where I'm like, I don't know if I have enough. And then like some of the stuff like I know is my A stuff that I definitely want to bring up. And then the other stuff is
Mm,
like if we run out of stuff to talk about. But
yeah.
I would like I go to so many different sources to try to get as much as I can. Like I remember like especially when the Carson podcast, like people would be like, how do you know this? And I would just go unconventional methods. I'd go to like, for example, like eBay and put the person's name in, and you see all these things that they did in their theater career, and like off Broadway or Broadway or like them like when they were touring with music around, and like people just like couldn't believe, and it was just like I don't know like these people have been interviewed so many times, and I try my hardest not to ask the same cookie cutter questions. It's not where did you go to college? I can find that out. It's like
Mm.
when you went to Penn State and you majored in this year, and how did that lead to and then something. So I just feel like when I do that, and it just happened the other day, I can just see it in their eyes, and then they are like, okay, this he there's just like this connection, and they just open up a lot of times with me. I try, that's what I try to do. But yeah, sometimes like Frank Santapadre and the Gilbert podcast, I think like he was doing like 7, 8 hours of research on every guest, and like believe it or not, was doing more than I was. But I just I just there's definitely certain people I probably have did a little bit too much. That's why like certain guests I had to do like 2 or 3 episodes. But yeah, that's thank you for even asking about the research and stuff. I mean, I just it's definitely something I try to go back as early as I can with what they've done and like try to just have a grasp and try to go in maybe different directions in their interviews that they've never done, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it was Barry Gibb who you stumped, and I can't remember the
Oh
question that you
wow.
asked. Yeah,
Yeah,
you asked him something, and he just stopped for a second. He's like, you can hear him like,
man.
this guy, yeah.
I don't normally I try to stay away from stuff, but like the BG fans were so pissed at me that I didn't ask about certain things with Barry Gibb or like they just were not happy with my Barry Gibb interview. I come from a different point of view because it's late night and Carson and stuff, and I was saying yeah, I think I mispronounced some stuff as well, but yeah, he was really nice. Like I was
Mhm.
shocked. He said, yeah, like if I just said it was like a music podcast, I don't think he would have done it, but it was like they had tennis and it was Johnny Carson. And I was able to get to his person and I was like shocked he said yes. He couldn't have been nicer. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mark, I
The
listened to the Carson
isn't the
podcast.
awkward downtime of multiple guests who are being polite to each other a lovely feeling? I just adore that. I adore the tension of
Well,
that.
Darin also had a much better question than I did because, Mike, you know me well enough to know where my priorities were after Mark had just mentioned something.
Yes, but please go and regale us and let us know because I'm not sure that I do know.
You mentioned your cats, so I'm like, what are your cats' names?
Oh my goodness, we have Boo, but for Boo Radley from Mockingbird.
Okay.
That was my contribution, and Bud just passed away. That was Bud Court,
Oh, I'm
from
sorry.
Harold and Maude, because I like Harold and Maude, and then we have a few more that like Christine McRescue and a couple of them we had weren't able to get homes because some of them have like special needs a little bit here and there, but yeah, those are the main ones. She like what else do we have? We have Belle. She named. But yeah, my those are my contributions. But yeah, we like the cats. I love your Colbert photo, by the way. I worked at that show for the Colbert Report.
Oh,
I see Stephen in character that I remember that photo very well. Worked
yeah.
there for 3 years and 8 months. Who's counting? But Colbert when he used to go on Dave's show because he knew I had a day job at Dave and like would tell me what they would talk about sometimes like between commercials and be like, well, can I tell me just like things with his appearance, but Colbert would be like almost like like how Letterman would be on Carson, just like
Yeah.
completely in awe. I thought that was really, really cool. But yeah, he loved going on Dave's show. He was so good at it.
Dave released the video. With it was so funny because I asked Walter, I said, is there going to be a reaction? Is there going to be a reaction that very same day? The reaction video on the Barbara Gaines show, oh, by the way, shout out to the Barbara Gaines show, came out and Letterman, when talking about CBS and what they're doing and their tactics right now and what the conjecture that was being thrown out there, one of the things that he talked about was the idea that we're all going to have to go in and we're all going to have to go kiss the ring. I just loved Dave's appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. The idea that he is going to come on there again before Stephen leaves is a beautiful one. It's a historic one. It's one of those things that people like us, we live for the moments like that, those moments. But we're also talking about the idea of my next guest. Do you think this, I call it circus time that's happening right now, do you think it warrants...
Adam.
What's that?
Not Adam. I'm sorry. Mike,
Yes.
you were mentioning Dave is going to come back on The Late Show
Yes.
with Stephen Colbert, and all I could think about was when Dave came on Johnny Carson, and Johnny Carson's like, "So how pissed are you?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
famous
what I'm
moment.
saying.
Like Dave should just go on Colbert and be like, "So how pissed
How
are
pissed
you?"
are you?
Oh wow, that would be a great callback. Oh man, I love that. That's a
Right?
great idea.
That's like, and that's one of my favorite Letterman appearances on Carson was just the energy that it was so the
Oh,
electric energy of it was just absolutely amazing. And even 2 or 3 days before Johnny signed off, Dave came on again, and that was a phenomenal. And Carson still pissed, are you? Like,
oh, it was great. Yeah, he was
yeah,
making fun of Clint Eastwood,
Oh
Letterman
yeah.
making fun, and then Eastwood shot back. But that was, yeah,
Would it
that
kill you to wear a tie?
yes, and
This
that
isn't
whole
a
like,
barbecue.
yeah, and then
Well, I
at least I'm
see you
not wearing
still
my
got on
gym
your gym
socks or
socks.
something. Yeah,
yeah,
that was
that's right.
wonderful. That was wonderful.
So do you think this might, because he's done such a good job of being as arm's length as humanly possible from clearly all of these guys and gals for that matter. He just guested on Busy Phillips's show. Want Dave to be roped back into this circus again, and he's done such a good job of kind of keeping it arm's length, but still every once in a while giving us little tidbits of it. His appearance on Strike Force 5 and some of these other things. The idea of Colbert actually getting a full spot on My Next Guest, I think, is pretty fascinating. I wonder if that's a trigger that they might pull.
I think it would be great television. I definitely were thinking of some people that I could maybe see Dave going for. I love the fact he gets certain people that just don't really are very prep would say no to most other people like that, and it's still like he's does such a good job, I think, of getting people open and maybe in a different light. Yeah, but I think Colbert would be amazing. I could see them going back to Charleston, where Steven's from, or Chicago, maybe, where he spent so much time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would love that one. Let's look at the list. So, by the way, isn't Jed such a great guy, Mark? I mean,
Oh
it's,
yeah,
what else are we going to say? I'm kind of painting you into a corner with it, but I
of
adore this guy.
course.
I adore this
Yeah.
guy.
You know
Like,
what? Not
Yeah.
so much.
Oh
He kind of rubs
man.
me the wrong way. Really, the guy's an ass. Come on.
Oh my goodness, I disagree.
No, he's not going
And
to
which one of you are getting paid by him?
certainly not me.
see. Allison's used to this because the last two of the three times I've been on her show, I've broken her podcast. So I'm hoping I don't break this one.
Never know.
Don't sell yourself short. It was all 3 times.
Okay, okay.
Um, uh, the fact that Late Nighter exists is just absolutely, like, I mean, I think back to my heyday of the internet and some of the different sites. Like, I would go to IGN. Remember IGN? I'd go to the IGN sites all the time that had to do with the fact that we have one now, and it's so well curated in the people, Mark, you included in this, who are involved in what populates the content of this thing. It's such a great thing, and Jed, I just really appreciate the fact that he's given a place for these people, the Bill Carters and everybody else
Yes.
down from that. I kind of put him up on the pedestal.
That's
I just
wonderful.
love that I can go to this thing every day, and there's always fresh content. There's always good stuff. Jed himself is writing lots of stuff. Wants to make sure that there's lots of interesting things on this site, and we've never had in the last probably 10 years a time where there has been more interesting things about late night that are coming out from all of the different franchises, especially watching again, if we're watching the implosion of this thing that we love so much, this genre we love so much. I'm really glad Late Nighter exists to cover it.
Yeah.
And this article he just came out with the idea of dream guests for My Next Guest. I love that. That's like the nerd. What if Hulk fought Superman? What would happen? This is kind of that sort of along that vein a little bit. They brought up some names from the past. Obviously, the idea of having, like, say, a Michael Keaton on there. Michael Keaton was always a great guest. You could always tell the camaraderie that they shared
Yes.
from the Comedy Store. Any of you guys had encounters? Mark, did you ever meet Michael Keaton in your walk?
No, I got to go to Mr. Rogers, but that was after he was way after he was gone. But I had never had anything to do with him. But he was always great. Like I would hear stories about, when he was back in the day when he was a stand-up, people would mention him. But yeah, never. I tried to ask him through his publicist a bunch of times he went on Carson, I think like 6 times or something. It was always good. But yeah, he was wonderful with Dave. But I think he'd be fabulous on his show.
Did he perform? Like, was he one of the Comedy Store kind of regulars that would show up and perform on Tonight back then, or was his stand up more
He didn't do stand up on Carson's show. He was movie by then. I think
Yeah.
like he was like already like pretty established. He moved on from the Mary Tyler Moore variety show or whatever it was.
Wasn't
And
his first appearance on Carson from Mr. Mom? I'm wanting to
it
think.
sounds about right. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds about right. So yeah.
His final appearance on Letterman was amazing, and it
Oh
showed just how much
yeah.
confidence he has. It
Yes.
was like a walk in the park. He came in, he had his cell phone with him, and he was showing Dave pictures.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was an incredible, easygoing interview, and you just wanted an hour more of it. It was incredible.
Yeah. Well, just want an hour more of it, and that's that calls back to exactly what Jed's point is in the article here. The idea of these two guys. Like, that's the thing about that class at the Comedy Store. Like, some of them went on to some unbelievable accolades and adventures, but unique. Like, I look at a guy like Tim Thomerson, and again, he might not be, the A-lister that people think of right away. There are certainly others that can do that, but unique. You think about Tom Dreesen. Tom Dreesen, again, like pallbearer at Frank Sinatra's funeral, and the guy, probably the guy on the planet right now that carries on this legacy of the biggest person in show business, in all of show business for decades, Frank Sinatra. And these are all guys, Michael Keaton, acclaimed actor, and has this unbelievable career, but unique, like very, very, very just special. And all of these people were together on this stage. Letterman, of course, the heir apparent to Carson, got to work, with his hero. And they're all, and Leno too, famous, infamous, whatever you want to call it. Leno there, of course, as well. That class from the Comedy Store, just unbelievable in what many of them have moved on to.
Can you imagine being there back in the day and seeing Robin Williams probably on the same night as Richard Pryor, probably on the same night as Letterman? And I would have loved to have gone back and watched them guys those guys, English, Darin, speak it. We're working out bits, because what we've seen is them doing established pieces, but you'd love to watch them do, trying out something, and then you try it out again, and then you work on it a third time, a fourth time to get it just right. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, I would have loved to see Dave MC at the Comedy Store. I mean, has covered in the book, but they just did not. The Tonight Show didn't find that he had enough material to warrant him to do stand up that was strong enough, and it just took him a little bit longer and stuff. But he was known as this really fast MC, and they knew he was funny. But to go and do your a strong 5 or 6 minutes, they had some apprehension. It took a lot longer than I thought. It took a couple. It took like, I think he was rejected 3 times or two or
Yeah.
3 times, and then Buddy Moore insisted on automatic panel, or you're not getting Letterman, because they wanted him then finally, and
Yeah.
that took a little time, but they got Johnny to agree.
It took Steve Martin a long time too, didn't he, to get on there?
Yeah, Bob Shane, and I covered that. It was a talent coordinator. Fred DeCordova, like, famously passed on Steve Martin, on Martin Mull, and so many people. And it was, but Bob Shane, a lot of times the talent coordinators, if they couldn't get past Fred DeCordova or Peter, they would have like these, like, every 4 months they could sit down with Carson, and they could pitch to Johnny themselves. And he showed him a kinescope of Steve Martin or not a kinescope, a videotape of like him on Steve Allen. And Carson said, let's give the kid a chance. And that's how Steve
Yeah.
Martin got booked. But yeah, some of those bookings were not easy. Like, it just,
I,
Albert
I
Brooks
think
was
Steve
one
Martin
of
said
them.
it took him 12 times of being on Carson. I think it's 12. 12 times on Carson before someone said, weren't you on the Tonight Show last night? And he says, yes. And after all that time, I became an overnight sensation.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I recently read Comedy on the Edge, which is about the Comedy Store and what was going on in the 70s. And it mentions that everyone's goal was to get on Carson.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few people who got on Carson who then didn't have momentum to keep going because they used their best 5 minutes. And it's like, oh, everyone wants to see me now, but they don't want to see those 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
everyone needed to have like Billy Crystal was smart. Like certain people would go in with like they'd have four prepared sets when they debuted. But like someone like David Say, who was on my Carson podcast, just he told me he's just like I should have listened to Seinfeld and just kept writing more and ran out of material. I mean, it's tough. It got Leno in trouble at Carson show because, in I think it was like Jay had a really strong debut and then they had him back almost immediately and he just ran out of material and it showed eventually and then Carson's like we're not ever having this guy on ever again and he had then Jay had a went over to date on Dave's show famously and just was like one of the best guests ever and that's how finally in '86 Carson was like okay let's bring him back and Jay was red hot by then but yeah, Carson, once he said, I never want this person on the show again, it was almost rare that he changed his mind. But Jay definitely, I mean, was just like lightning hot going on Dave's show. So,
Or there
And
was
isn't that
some
interesting?
times
Because one
where
of the things
comics
that we
would,
were talking about, like, the idea of Dave hosting at the Comedy Store, that's what we all kind of think about because the host, okay, yeah, they might come up and do their first 2 or 3 minutes to kind of warm the crowd up and see what's going on out there a little bit. And by the way, that to me is fascinating as well. The idea that Eddie Brill used to do that, obviously, for Late Show, and the idea that David Letterman is the guy that goes out and is looking at what kind of a crowd do we have here today and kind of playing with them a little bit. And all of us, hindsight, of course, knowing that that's one of Dave's strengths is his off the cuff type response. Then he goes, maybe does 2 or 3 minutes, and then he gets to respond to every comic after they finish off and gets to, throw his 2 cents in. To me, that's the price of admission right there. Leno coming over to Letterman after this time, he doesn't have this material, which again, with hindsight, you look back and you go, oh my God, the idea that Jay Leno doesn't have enough material, knowing now what we know about him and how much of a workhorse he is. And what is it that kind of brings him back? And it's the idea that he and Dave can kind of go off the cuff on panel. And that's the thing that gives him the juice to kind of come back to it. I dig that symmetry.
I did just want to mention had material, it just was not right for the Tonight
Right.
Show.
Yes.
So he
yes,
could
yes.
go in the clubs and do stuff, but like he just didn't. It wasn't Carson stuff. I'm sorry, Allison. Please continue. Sorry to jump in. I just want to interject that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, part of that was I'm pretty sure Jay has gone on record and said, like, he hasn't done a stand-up special because once you do that, you can't use those jokes because everyone has already heard those. The other, to your point, Mark, I believe I saw a set early Jay Leno where I was surprised at how blue he was working, which wouldn't have flown on the Tonight Show.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on who the comic was and if they could get away with it. I mean, Jim McCauley it was very for the when they were starting out at least with on people sets very controlling and people there are a bunch of names in the book that people that got banned from the show that were told not to do certain jokes that were off color. I mean, Letterman definitely there were people that went on that did stuff that were not asked back just because he thought that you're inviting somebody into their home essentially. That's how they look at it, Dave, and then just to like say certain things like you would never say that in somebody's home. So there are a few that happened a couple times, but that's interesting. Yeah, the Jay stuff that you thought I'm sure it is. I haven't gone back and looked at Jay's stuff, but Blue, but yeah, he has definitely his. You can see it's interesting his style organically changing over those years.
It wasn't outrageous, but I'm like, oh, this is not the Jay Leno I know.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like Chappelle's debut on Dave, I think is one of those examples where I was just like, somebody like Jeffrey Ross in '95 absolutely crushed it. And Chappelle did okay. I thought he did all right. I mean, I definitely get like when he if you look at his from there and to, like maybe a bunch of years later it's like night and day to me I think with his debut. Richard Lewis suffered greatly on his Tonight Show debut. He told me he never even watched. I mean, I don't think it's on YouTube, but it's definitely one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever seen for a debuting comic. And he just said he wasn't ready. He had been doing comedy, I think 2 years, maybe 3 years, and it was just
Wow.
but we talked in depth about it, but it was rough. And he was able to, after a couple more years, get back, and he did very, very well. It's just, it's tough for some people.
Hmm.
Yeah, Richard Lewis is one of those guys that I really I've got a whole bunch of people that I have playful loving envy with you, Mark, about some of the conversations and experiences you've had. Richard Lewis is one of them. I just when was it that you spoke with him? You've spoken with him multiple times, haven't you?
Nah, I was only once. I think it was
Oh, it's just once. Okay.
2022, maybe.
Yeah.
I try to get it. It's like Richard Lewis told me he never got the messages. He had a publicist for a while, and this nice, I'm sure, nice person, not even going to them. And then he was with I think it's okay to say Jeff Abraham, who's a great guy who wrote a comedy book, and he's just like the nicest guy. And he got me Richard Lewis near the end of the Carson podcast, and I was shocked. But it's great to talk about Dave. I'm into him. I mean, I thought his Dave stuff was always wonderful, and yeah, I think he shined on that show for sure.
It, like, and that's the thing I love. Like with I always refer to these guys. I refer to The Godfather, and I refer to Johnny as Mike as Vito. Vito? No, just yeah, okay. And then Mike, and
Don
then Michael
Corleone.
is David, as is Letterman, right? And to me, they're linked. They're forever linked. Like when you talk to Richard, you can talk to some of these people, and they have a perfect link between the two
Yeah.
franchises. And I love that. There are some guests who they transcend that. Richard Lewis is certainly one of them. Robin Williams is certainly one of them. Many of these people, and I think that's indicative of just how close these two franchise, how Dave wanted to be the guy that did take over, and in many ways was the guy that took over, despite the fact that the franchise wasn't his. It's just such a fascinating story looking back on all of it. One of the other people on the list here was Madonna. Now, I'm a little bit fascinated with the idea of Dave talking to modern day Madonna, mostly because I just want to see what she looks like at the time of the recording. I don't know that I the history the two have. I don't know how I feel about that. How did you feel about the idea of Dave talking to Madonna for an hour?
It's interesting, but I don't think we would learn anything about Madonna.
Okay.
I think it's just going to be an hour of those two playfully sniping at each other.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, I don't know. I just don't think that's going to be exciting television. And that's like Allison said, what are we going to learn about Madonna that we haven't already, that we don't already know? And there's going to be people, diehard Letterman fans who are going to, go to revisit the episode where she dropped the F-bomb 25, 26 times or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after that's all said and done, yeah, I don't know. That's not,
Okay.
she's not somebody who I would put on my list.
I don't
But on
think
the
she's someone who would be open. That's the best thing about my next guest is he gets people to be really open you don't expect.
Mhm.
Lizzo was fantastic, and I
Yeah.
could care less about Lizzo before that episode. But he made me care about Lizzo, and I'm not so sure that Madonna will let herself be open in terms of how she is as a parent, and I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I think Madonna's still, after all these years, I think she's still like shock value Madonna.
she is.
So yeah, and I don't know that Dave's wanting to have shock value on his show. He likes to get people to, like, he had George Clooney on. He's had George Clooney on I don't know how many times.
Yep.
But George and his parents, you developed a new appreciation for George after hearing him talk to his dad. And it was pretty good. So I don't know.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way about that one. The Lizzo is yours, Adam. Mine is Billie Eilish. Like
Very
my
similar.
wall when it comes to
Great interview.
music is really high at this point. Like the music that I had, that's part of my DNA growing up during my formative years, my 20s when I was kind of in many ways trying to figure out myself and whatnot. That music has cemented itself into me. And for new music to do it, it takes a lot. Um, Billie Eilish is one of those ones where I saw what was going on and I was like, okay, this is the one that's, captured the kids, that sort of a thing. After she was on My Next Guest, I did a bit of a deep dive and now she's over the fence. She's in my, like, she's one of those new artists that is there, that I'm like, yep, I totally get it. And there have been artists along the way that have come along and done that. But yeah, it took Dave's show and the understanding of her to do that. I loved his Miley Cyrus episode. Like,
Yeah, he's good with some of the young. I'd like him with Bo Burnham, maybe.
oh, yes.
Yeah. But he's good. He's extremely good at getting people at the different sides of them and making people. Yeah, I would be like, I don't know why this would be interesting. And then you watch him with them, and they're like, oh wow. Yeah.
I'll tell you somebody I would love for him to have on the show and he was never on the any of the early shows, but he's hot right now and everybody loves him. It's Pat Sajak. I'm kidding.
Show us the mug, Allison. Show us the mug.
Okay.
Nate Bargatze.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would make
Bargatze
sense.
would be amazing on
That would make
My
sense.
Guest. He's a clean comic and he could
Tennessee. Yeah.
he could talk absolutely about why he's pursued this avenue of comedy, and he is, my God, he sells out stadiums right and left, and he's hosting the Emmy Awards. Nate Bargatze would be a phenomenal guest on Letterman. I think the two of them would do well.
That's a good. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have before Allison shows the mug, they have a phenomenal chemistry, and I know that because last year at the Netflix is a Joke Comedy Festival, 2 out of 3 of the nights I got a chance to see Dave with his special guest, and the first night it was Nate Bargatze, and they didn't record it. And I mean, I said to Dave's producer, I'm like, why aren't you recording it? And one of the things that was said was, well, he goes, it's a different conversation when the cameras are on, and boy, is that true. And it was a phenomenal interaction between the two, by far. And I didn't see the Sarah Silverman one the second night, but it was really good. And they showed clips of material that Late Show rejected, and he got on to Conan, and Dave apologized for it, and it was this really cool moment between the two of them. And yes, he did talk about that. He talked about the idea of the clean comedy. They spent probably 10 minutes of the interview about that. It was a really great on stage version of My Next Guest that nobody got a chance to see except for the people in the room. And yeah, it would be a really good, just like when he had John Mulaney on, showing John working on his next hour. I love that. I love that Dave still seems to have the fascination or the curiosity for what's going on in stand-up and the process of stand-up, and maybe how it's the same and how it's changed over the years, how he kind of plays around with that idea. The idea that he would be able to do that with Nate is a phenomenal one. Allison, show us the mug.
I also realized you all probably saw my shorts because I forgot I was wearing shorts.
No, that's okay.
Darin's not wearing pants.
It's summertime, damn it.
Darin's not what?
Darin's not wearing pants.
No, I'm not wearing pants.
I don't think
So
Darin
you're fine.
ever wears pants.
I live in Ohio. There's no need.
Do they have pants in Ohio?
They do, but a lot of people bring them in from Kentucky.
No,
So you gotta
worldwide
import
pants.
them.
Show us
No,
the
I'm
mug,
actually-
Allison.
I'm wearing
Okay.
cargo shorts.
So
Allison
I
has a
actually
cool mug collection from a bunch of these shows.
I actually have 2 Pat Sajak mugs.
I didn't know
Okay.
that.
So the first one is your typical put it on a desk mug.
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
nice.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
That's cool.
And then your other one was definitely, I don't know much about them, but this was definitely handed out to affiliates and other people in the industry based on what it says, which is follow a rising star to late night success. And I'm assuming, I haven't tried it, if you fill it with hot
Oh, wow.
water or coffee or something, that the TV screen will reveal what's behind it, which says Pat Sajak on CBS.
There we go.
That's cool.
That worked out so well too.
Okay, let me
That's
get my hold on.
fantastic.
I'll get a couple of mugs. You talk amongst yourselves. You can,
Oh yeah, we'll talk amongst ourselves. The other another one, Oprah. You like the idea of Dave going for an hour with Oprah? I don't know. Like for me, it's so funny with this list, and there's the pop culture and the process of hosting this show. Some of them have gone away from me. Like Jay Leno was on here. I don't want to. I don't really want to see it, to be perfectly frank. It's so funny how the levels of this change perspective. To me, Dave and Oprah did their hour when Dave was on Oprah on her show. Like I don't know how much new stuff we would get with Oprah. I don't know how we feel about Oprah and Dave going on My Next Guest or not.
With Oprah and Jay Leno, it feels like, okay, these are people who have a history with Dave, and we've seen both of them do their rounds with him already.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think with Jay, it's different. Unfortunately, or fortunately, their careers are always intertwined, no matter what they achieve individually. The interesting thing about with Jay now is his personal life,
Yeah.
and what's going on with him, and his wife and her diagnosis. And
Yeah.
I think I don't see Jay Leno as being the type of guy that would talk about that with Letterman. But if he would, I think that would be a fantastic part of the interview. And I think you would see maybe some camaraderie between the two. I think that's what the viewer would want to see. I don't think anyone cares about ratings at this point or rivalries. It's all kind of antiquated anymore. So I think that would be the end on a Jay Leno interview, but I don't think you'll see it.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Like both men famously, they've got the vulnerability that's out there is the vulnerability that they have allowed to get out there. Both guys, safe to say that that's the case. The idea of them talking about the real life stuff of, hey, we're getting old, and this is some of the horribleness of family and things like that when we get old and this stage of life. Yeah, you're right. And you know what? If anybody could get Jay to open up about that stuff and actually, become vulnerable about it, it would be Dave. That's a great point. You got a mug there, Darin?
I do.
What do you got?
I've got Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Right on.
Okay, I don't have a Late Night with Letterman, but I got a Seth Meyers. I have got Regis and Kathy Lee.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
That's
Right.
fantastic.
The most obscure talk show host mug that I have is from Danny Bonaducci.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And he had the Danny Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have Vicky.
Oh yeah.
No, Vicki Lawrence. Wow.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Irritable Dad Syndrome.
Oh, of course.
course.
Yeah, got to do a plug for the show.
Go
Absolutely.
to irritabledadsyndrome.com. Okay, whatever. Yeah. So let's play Darin's coffee mugs.
Mark, did Johnny like Oprah? Did they get to that place where there was the respect that Oprah got, came after, a lot of success where perhaps she wasn't given the due when it came to broadcasting because of the topics and content of her show, kind of early on. And then, Johnny left the stage in the early 90s and Oprah then really started kind of flowering after that. Was there ever contact between the two that you know of?
She went on she went on Johnny's show like 3 times with Johnny and then with Joan a couple of times and was talking about how uncomfortable it was with Joan Rivers, with Joan like giving her apparently a hard time, or not apparently, with about her weight. But I thought her Oprah and Carson were great together. But yeah, like I mean, I remember when I was really little, I was in Arlington Heights, Illinois, when Oprah was local in Illinois doing AM Chicago. And then went national, and then like organically over time the show changed a lot, and she did as a broadcaster. But I thought she was great with Johnny. I mean, Johnny did back then. He definitely. I thought it was like looking back, it's like, but he did some weight jokes like in Karnak and stuff about like Ovaltine. And then it was like describe Oprah Winfrey as a teen or something like that with the. But like did some of that stuff. I'm sure Oprah wasn't thrilled with that. Who would be? But other than that, I mean, I know when Carson passed away, Oprah put out a nice statement, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The only person I know of um that she had problems with was Joan, and then that uncomfortable appearance with Dave on the NBC show, I think when they were in Chicago.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing you
Yeah,
brought
the
up,
crowd
Mark.
was yelling, "Get her,"
Yeah.
or something like that, and she just, yeah,
One
really
thing
was
you brought up,
uncomfortable with that.
Mark, that was interesting. You said about her early days in Chicago. Before that, she was on WJZ in Baltimore. And where I grew up in Pennsylvania, we got all Baltimore and Washington stations because there was really no local stations. W whatever Channel 8 was, WJAL or whatever that was, near Hershey, where Mark's from.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I know the NBC affiliate. I know it well.
That's
It's
right.
based in Lancaster. Yeah.
That's right. I live in Penn State now, so thank you for the shout out for Penn State earlier. But I think one end you could have with Oprah and Dave is Oprah as a broadcaster.
Yep.
She worked in Baltimore, WJZ News every day, and then she had a local show there. And I remember her from when I was little because my mom would watch her before she went national. So maybe that's the end with Oprah, and that's probably what I would want to hear because I don't think she talks about it much lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. The idea of the broadcaster. I mean, the broadcaster always is always the appeal with Dave, right? Because that's what
That's right.
that's what he is, as opposed to comic. Like, it's funny. And actually, Mark, I want to ask you this just straight off the cuff, because a couple of us in here do stand up, and I mean, I've been doing it. Last night I had a set. Actually, I think I'm actually going to put the set up in the Letterman Podcast Facebook group. I think I'm actually going to put it up, but. I know why I'm doing stand up, and I feel like it's a similar reason. The reason I'm doing it, it's not because I'm an aspiring stand up. It's because I want to get the discipline under my belt. I want to get it so I can understand it, I can do it, and be at least somewhat passable at it. That certainly seemed to be the reason Dave did it. It was an entry point into what he wanted to get to, which is a higher level of broadcasting. But in order to get there, he had to learn the discipline. Mark, Darin, I know you both have played around with it. Is that similar for you?
I do stand up because I crave the attention from the spotlight that I never got from my parents.
Yeah.
It shows, Darin. It shows.
Right?
All right.
It certainly isn't for the laughs, I'll tell you that.
Mark, have you done any sets at all in the last couple of years?
No, I haven't done stand up in a long time. It's been years and years, but like I've been writing material just down, and Christine, my wife, has been urging me to go back. So maybe after the book I'll go in. People have asked me to. It's been a while. And it scares me, which I think is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
It's
I
supposed
try
to,
to
yeah.
I really do try to yes and like the improv Chicago things that's if they're scary, but they could be positive. I try to go to do those type of things. But yeah, the stand up, I mean, dang. Just remember, back in the day when I would do it, I would eat. There's no in between. It was either I would bomb or I would kill. And like
Yep.
when I went well, I went well. But when I didn't, but I couldn't just do okay. And I loved when I started to do those videos where I could edit myself, so I wouldn't bomb. I wouldn't think I would bomb or at least look okay. And then started doing those stunt comedy videos that started getting me on TV and stuff. So. But yeah, I'd like to. There's never been more venues in New York City to do stand-up. Like it's amazing. It's, when I first moved here, you would know who all the stand-ups were. Like, I mean, I was a door guy at one of the stand-up clubs and stuff, and you knew everyone. And now that's just like so many. It's like hundreds and like thousands of stand-ups around. But yeah, never been more opportunity.
Are you able to tell the difference between a good set and a bad set in terms of reaction? Like, can you pinpoint this is what I did right or wrong, or is it completely audience based?
I think it's hard. I mean, I think it just depends on the audience. It depends on if it's new material or tested material. I mean, I always think like the best people that I admire are the ones that can go into any type of venue or any audience and do well. Because there are certain people that only do well with alt rooms, and then
Mhm.
other people can do well just with clubs. But the people that can do any type of audience, I think, is pretty amazing. But yeah, the whole testing material and stuff, it's gonna be. I was gonna start just doing open mics for like a year, but then somebody who's a successful stand-up I talked to recently, she's like, Mark, no, don't. That's like you do not want to do that. Just do it, just do a few and then just start getting up in front of people. And I'm like, I feel like
Is
I'm
that
gonna
because the audience to an open mic night is not indicative of the typical audience for a night of stand up?
I just really want to get the muscle back. To me, it's
Yeah.
like going to the gym, and I haven't been to the gym. And like, I don't even want to date myself with how long it's been since I've done stand up. Like, I've done like other performance stuff, but like nothing like that. So it's like, I just want to like, before I'm like in front of a paying audience that like, I feel like if people are paying money, even if they're not, if they're a regular audience, I owe them an experience
Yes.
and to the
Right.
best of my ability. And I just feel so out of shape that I feel like those open mics, even though back in the day they were not fun and could be very toxic atmosphere.
Well,
That's what I was referring to. That's probably why she gave you that
Yeah, and
advice was
not good
because she's
audience. It's
yeah.
just it's hard to tell sometimes if the stuff would work or not with an audience. I feel like just to be me just even getting up and doing it, just like getting those reps in, I feel like hopefully I'll be able to just tell when I'm ready to do it. But man, when I was doing the door guy at the Boston Comedy Club, which is in New York on Third Street, when it was like unknown Chappelle, unknown Jim Brewer, Daryl Hammond, right before he got SNL, and Dane Cook, all these people before they got famous. It was amazing to see that. Like, remember Chris Rock? It was like a year before Bringing the Pain when he couldn't get arrested. Somebody told me his agent dropped him, and just to see him on a Tuesday with 10 people just bombing. I mean, just trying out new material. Probably 10% worked, which if you're doing all new material and 10% works, that's pretty good. But
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing just to kind of see that insight and how long it really did take certain people a little bit longer. Like when I moved here to the city, everyone told me Chappelle is going to be like the biggest comedy star, and he ended up being, but it took like another like 6 years or 7 years for him to get there. But everyone was like, it's going to happen tomorrow, and it just took him a while, and that was interesting to see how his stand-up evolved. Just how Jay's stand-up evolved from him going on Carson and then him going on Dave Letterman's NBC show 40 times and just like, oh my goodness, what a powerhouse. I mean,
Yep.
I opened up for Chappelle twice when I had a sketch group in colleges, and it was right before his Comedy Central show, and Dave contractually had to do 90 minutes, I think, and he did on one of them, it was like over 3 hours, and it's just like getting those reps. I mean, Leno the same when he was on the road would do these long, long shows. And that's how I think for some people you get really, really good. I
Hmm.
guess it depends on the person, but yeah.
was it the
How about
Bostonian Barry Katz's club?
Yeah. Oh man. It was a rough room. There were fights. I saw comics that had meltdowns that just like the audience is that they've sniffed like weakness on stage. And then these are some people that went on Dave's show multiple times that killed. But just like, oh my gosh, it was a room where they would send me out. I'm sorry to name drop a little bit, but they would send me to try to get like a Ray Romano who wasn't, didn't have his deal yet with CBS with Dave. So like, I'd go to the Comedy Cellar and be like, Ray, can you do the Boston? And he's like, him and like people like Louis C.K. just didn't want to be doing that room anymore, even though Louis co-founded it. It's a rough room. Ray's like, I'm talking about more of my kids these days, and I couldn't
right.
get him to come over. But it was definitely there was Patrice O'Neill. I mean, it was amazing. All these people that were not famous that just blew up. Kevin Hart was over there. That just were waiting for stage time. I remember when Bill Burr came from Boston back to New York, just like waiting, like they wouldn't put him on, and he was like waiting
Wow.
hours and hours and hours, just to try to get back in the New York scene and just paying his dues again, and just,
Mhm.
he was another guy that was unbelievable just to watch what he became, and he wasn't quite yet Bill Burr. I mean, it just took him a bunch more years of, I remember his Conan debut being like, this was okay, and then it was good, but then it's just like powerhouse. Oh my goodness. But that was my favorite thing about it. I think watching the stand-up sets back then is just how they organically just became like they were the Simpsons on Tracy Ullman, these crude little things. And then
Mm.
they find their voice and you're just like, man. But to be able to witness that was really cool. I never got to go to the stand-up New York auditions that when Morty would go over to and audition people and stuff. I always wanted to see that. But
Yeah.
Zoe Friedman and I would talk sometimes. I'm sure does not remember this when I was in it when I worked at Letterman and we would talk about stand-ups and she would just talk about how much in awe she was of Mitch Hedberg being so prolific. That was the one person she would always talk about, I remember.
Mitch is just yeah, he's another level. Like I just, the idea of being able to tell a humorous story, an anecdote, and then taken and stretched and accentuated with humorous ideas. Not Mitch Hedberg. He's like almost like a poet. Like just these two lines or three lines, and then he moved on to two lines or three lines that were completely unrelated, and then another two lines or three lines that were completely unrelated. That just to me, the mastery that he had of this, and yet at the same time also understanding the crowd going around and being able to shift on the fly, knowing that he was pulling things out of the file folder depending on the audience that he had. Mitch Hedberg is just one of those masters that I'm glad his name came up today.
Well, Mitch, I saw him twice.
Wow.
And you would be laughing at something, and then 3 jokes later, you're laughing at that joke, and you're still laughing at something from 4 jokes ago.
Wow.
And it was honestly, of all the comedians I've seen, it was the one time you just wanted to go, God, can you stop for a minute? Can you give me just take a 5?
I gotta catch up.
Let me catch my breath. Okay, yeah. I saw him twice in Dayton, and I've never seen anybody do what he did, how he did it, with so much confidence and just bam, bam, bam. It was amazing.
In these My Next Guest shows, Mark, you mentioned Chappelle in his early late show appearance, and then to going all the way to who he is now, and then having that My Next, you actually just mentioned, that's my very favorite My Next Guest. His and Jay-Z's are my 2 favorite of all time. The very top of the heap. I loved Chappelle's appearance. I would love to see Burr's early late shows. I love when an episode of My Next Guest can throw back to something that they did at the Ed Sullivan Theater. I love that when they can throw back to clips of things that were there, and then they can kind of intertwine them. I appreciate that symmetry as well. And Burr certainly had his spots on Late Show. And the idea of Dave talking with Burr, especially now, like a couple years ago, Burr was a new father. The idea that Burr's got this, he's his family man now, but he's still Bill Burr. And some of the other projects that he has. I think that if Dave were to get curious, one of the things Shecky always told me about Dave was you wanted him to be curious about you, about something. It wasn't that you wanted him to like you, it's that you wanted him to be curious about you. I love that when Rick would talk about that. I would love to see Dave curious about Bill Burr right now, and to talk to Burr, yes, as a comic, because Burr can do that, and he'll throw out as much material as you want, in a panel style thing. He'll do that. He'll entertain everybody. But then for Dave to get that curiosity factor going, talking to him about being a father. And if you look at Burr's last special, he had that moment in his last special where he was talking about how, he's becoming an older guy now. And there was this moment where a couple of days where he was feeling sad and his wife didn't know what to do about it. And nobody else knew what to do about it. And he was being really vulnerable. You could tell this is something that was taken from his life. And I would love to hear Dave talk to him about that, because Dave became a father a little bit later on in life as well. And I think that those two would have a really fun episode. Bill Burr is actually, he's on my list. He's one of the people that I would like to see on that show.
It's such a huge difference when Dave is fascinated by someone. I remember he had an interview with, it was a mathematics genius, Daniel Tennant, something like that. I think he had a documentary called Brain Man that came out, and he could recite pi for hours, and he could, name any day of the week for any year. And Dave was genuinely fascinated by him. And there was a tenderness and a good camaraderie between the two of them. And, I think he told Dave he looked like the number 17 or something. And it's a strong number. And Dave said, well, you have my number. So those kind of interactions are fantastic. And when you have him genuinely interested in caring about that guest, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever seen that interview, by the way?
It's familiar to me, but I
don't remember it.
It's great.
Was it Late Show?
It was Late Show. Yeah.
Okay, we got to ask Walter for it then. We'll ask him to put it up. He does requests on Friday. I don't know, for those of you who follow the Letterman YouTube channel, and why wouldn't you? Every Friday, or many Fridays, Walter will put up a fan request. So we'll put that in as our fan request this week to see if he'll find that one and put it up. That's a great poll. Cher's on the list. I don't know. Does Cher have anything more to say, or is it more similar to some of these other ones that we've talked about? Is there something new with Cher?
I don't know. She did she finally got put in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And, she, I think, mending fences with Dave after calling him an asshole. And then, she came
That
on.
was like 30 years ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But no,
I think
and
40.
she's
40 years ago.
But she's talked about it again since then. And then, she was came out and kissed him before he left CBS. So I don't know. I don't know that there's anything left for her really to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of feel the same way. Now, the next one on the list, though, is one that I heartily agree with. It's funny. I love watching Dave talk to the younger people, the Billie Eilishes of the world. Like I love that, and more of that, please, absolutely. But if we are talking about people from history to bring in, and I don't know exactly why both monologues that I saw Dave do before the Netflix is a joke live shows. He had Steve Martin jokes. He had jokes about Steve Martin's documentary, and I don't know if it was Shots, the 2-part documentary that came out, that highly recommended, by the way. I don't know if it's because Dave wasn't featured in it and he was just poking a little fun at it. I don't know exactly what he was doing. There was something there where there was an inside joke, but the idea of Dave talking to Steve Martin for an hour, I think now, I mean, you look at what Steve Martin is doing, with Only Murders, and him and Marty are doing with their one-man show, or their two-man show, I should say, the live show.
All those commercials.
Yeah.
Right? I think that Dave and Steve could have a really, really cool dialogue with each other. Mark, I'm curious about your opinion on that, because Steve Martin obviously intertwined in all of the things that you love and all of your adventures over this time here. Steve Martin must be a guy that conversations with Steve. Have you had any conversations with Steve, Mark?
Yeah, I've been around him a couple times, but we only met once and had a conversation. He couldn't have been nicer backstage at the Colbert Report. Actually on the wall, I have a banjo signed. I got him to sign
Oh my
something on the
God.
wall.
Shut up.
Yeah,
Really?
let me see if I can find
Yes,
it
please do.
or pull it off the
Just
wall.
casually. Oh yeah, I happen to have a banjo signed by Steve.
Yeah.
That makes me so jealous.
Oh.
Wow.
He was
Mark.
he
Do you
was
play
like
banjo, Mark?
the reason that the booker at Colbert, she was always so nice to me. She was great. I was able to get a few guests on the show, and she asked me, I think it was December or early December. She was like, Stephen wants a movie star on the show. Who do you think it should be? She's like, you're good at this. And I got a bunch of people I recommended, a couple people on the show.
Mhm.
And I said, I know it goes against our policy for comedy people, because we found out the comedy people just didn't work for Stephen's character. But I said I'd put on Steve Martin personally if it was a movie person. She's like, Mark, that's the one person Stephen said that we could make an exception. And then it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, Martin was on, and like everybody was like such in awe, and Steve Martin, he was like so nice. And like my friend Amy, who was in the green room, was like, Mark does comedy videos, and mentioned one of my videos, and Steve's like, didn't I read about that in the paper? I'm like, yes, I can't believe this is happening. But he was like really nice, and we did a photo. And I know he's and I get it, just like very an introvert. I'm an introvert, but even maybe more of an introvert than I am. So I was like, I just was just glad he couldn't have been warmer and nicer, and I'm glad it went well. But yeah, that was a nice experience, a nice time with him.
And
I learned to juggle because of Steve Martin.
really,
Yeah, he was on the Muppet Show when I was a kid, and I watched him. And he, looking back now, he's doing basic tricks. And I was like, I absolutely have to learn how to do that. So I learned how to juggle because I wanted to be like Steve Martin.
Yeah.
I own a banjo, but I can't play it. I inherited it from my father when he passed away. And if I ever meet him, I'll have him autograph my banjo too. And I can shove that in Mark's face. But Steve was the reason why I wanted to juggle, why I wanted to be funny, still trying to be funny. But I did stand up and learn to juggle because of Steve Martin.
I love him.
Okay, Darin, pull out the three balls.
What I'll do is I'll steer you to my to the videos on my Facebook page. They're way better than anything that I can do on this podcast.
Steve Martin, the idea, and let's go back to a Carson connection here. Carson the Magnificent, the idea of Carson being a magician and an entertainer in all sorts of other ways before, becoming the host of the Tonight Show. The idea, Steve Martin, same thing. I mean, he learned a whole bunch of different disciplines to get to the place where he could become Steve Martin, and it's just I love that parallel between those two.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We've got now the next couple people on the list. I'm going to put together Colbert, Kimmel, the Strike Force 5. Like, okay, let's talk a little bit about late night here, and then we can kind of, if we have any other suggestions, we can do that, and then we can kind of close it up for this installment. Mark, thank you all so much for taking time this day to come here and do this. I just love it so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
The Strike Force 5, like the idea that the next generation after Dave and Jay kind of said, okay, you know what? Maybe we should all be friends, and maybe we should all, with maybe the notable exception of Craig Ferguson, who many times, while lovely, of course, said, I don't want to be part of this club. That's not what I really want to be. A lot of them, they want to band together. They want to get along. They want to do that sort of thing. Dave showing up on Strike Force 5. Love that. Love the idea. I know Ricky Gervais at one point wanted to get a bunch of these late night hosts together to do a project together, that sort of thing. To me, that's the kind of thing that Dave just wants to really keep an arm's length of. But he did show up on Strike Force 5. It was awesome. It would be kind of cool to see something happen with these people if the genre is dying. And I want to ask you, Mark, like I did reach out and have a one-word email exchange with Bill Carter or whatever, since this all started. Is this the time? Is this the time for the last Bill Carter book about late night? Is that what's going on? Like, are we watching the whole thing implode? And because it's gonna disappear because the medium is gonna disappear. Are we watching that? Do you guys think?
It could happen. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely like when it was announced the Colbert cancellation, I very quickly thought about Bill. And I mean, if there's going to be another casualty, I think that I don't know if it's enough right now, but it's definitely being written as we speak, and yeah, we'll see what happens, and just I mean. The whole thing is just so sad and just for everybody's jobs. But yeah, I'm guessing there probably will be another book in Bill if he wants to go that route.
I used to work at an NBC affiliate here in Cincinnati, and the salespeople never had trouble selling local news because local news isn't something that people would DVR and watch later. They would always watch it for weather. They'd watch it to see if their kids showed up on the football game or whatever. So, but I need to get in touch with some of my friends who still work there and ask them, how hard is it? Because I'm fascinated. Like, how hard is it to sell network programming anymore, to sell advertising during, the Chicago shows? Because, I mean, so many people are watching them on Peacock or on Paramount, or they wait for it to get on Netflix. Why watch it with the commercials when all I have to do is wait until it goes on one of the streamers and then watch it, binge watch it. God, people love binge watching. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, not only is late night television going away, but is television going away? Because people love binge watching the shows. They love getting it on their streams.
I think the whole medium is difficult now because there's so many of those shows too. It's oversaturated. It isn't just Dave and Jay or just Johnny. And really, I don't think any of the shows have really differentiated themselves that much from one another. And that's not to say I'm not a fan of all those shows. Mike, you mentioned Craig Ferguson. I think he had the best show out of everyone. I loved his Late Late Show. It was incredible. But to go back to the original point, I just don't think they're different enough. And in terms of interviews, podcasts have kind of taken that over. I can listen to anyone at any point, at any time, and it's a real conversation, and they're not shilling for whatever movie that I'm not going to go see.
Yep.
So I think the whole format is difficult now. Um, I was hoping At Midnight would work really well. I loved the Comedy Central version, and it failed miserably because it was obviously pre-written. Um, so I don't know what's going to become of it. I don't think everyone's going to survive. It just might be one of them. And my first thought would be the Tonight Show because it's the gold standard. It's the it's kind of the franchise, but in terms of ratings, it does the worst of the three, I believe, right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen.
Mark, any insights, or are you at a place in your career or your spot where it's hard for you to commentate on this kind of stuff because you do host the podcast, you are with Late Nighter, I'm gingerly asking you about your opinion on this, and if you need to kind of take the fifth on it, I totally understand.
What specifically?
Just the entire genre and some of these shows, like the idea to that point, them being the same and doesn't need to change. Like I look at SNL 50 and I thought they hit the ball out of the park, and apparently it was the most profitable year for SNL ever. That's the narrative that's been put out about that side, and yet we see Late Night is abysmal. And is that just a narrative being put out there? Is there a way that you can kind of change it and find other ways to make the show profitable, to do with what we've all been talking about here, the idea that no, they can be streamed later, bigger versions of the interviews can be put out later and on a different format, that kind of a thing? Or is the entire medium just this is just indicative of what's happening with the entire medium?
I don't know. I hope things are if they do go with it, cyclical.
Yeah.
If we were told in like the late 80s or early 90s there'd be primetime game shows on network television, you're like, it's never gonna happen, and they're all over the place, and
Yes.
Right.
people are like, reality shows are always gonna be in prime time and and now it's like really hard to sell a reality show. I think things are cyclical, so. We'll see. I mean, I hope the medium always exists. I mean, it is definitely tough, I think, with the podcast. I think with the shows, everyone has like their unique thing that they do. I mean, it's definitely, I mean, Conan had such a strong voice, Dave Letterman had such a strong voice. It doesn't really some of the shows maybe it's just a little bit different I think now, but I hope that they will stay on as long as they can. And like SNL is very much is like Carson. They really have never had any serious competition in their whole run. I mean, Arsenio did well, but Carson still, it was like a different audience, and like
Yeah.
Arsenio did well, but Carson still was able to maintain and never got dethroned from Arsenio. But
SNL had Mad TV for about 10 years.
they did, but Mad TV, that's a good point. Mad TV during that time, their whole philosophy was that they would write comedy that they would not write above over a 12-year-old's education. And they would like they did not, and it was a choice. They did not play up to their
Yeah.
intelligence like SNL did with references and with things, and it was just a completely
Different
it
audience,
was
too.
it was a writer's medium on SNL, and the writers, I mean, just it was not like that at SNL. And I don't know, I've never heard of a sketch comedy show really succeeding on a huge level
Yeah.
without like the writers, it being about the written word and having some sort of control. And yeah, I mean, I heard some people, I think, talking about Mad TV, and it was like somebody was saying that like, and I've had people tell me this off the record and stuff that were at Mad TV. If there was a well-written sketch, it was the exception. That's what these are not my words. That's what people internally have told me, certain people. And it was just, it's tough. It was just a whole different process. It was not like how it was with SNL with the writing. And I
No.
think that maybe hurt the show from finding. I know that people internally, some people have said that, we didn't get enough promotion from the network. If something is good, after that many years, they will find the audience. I really do believe that. I mean, I know that they weren't pushed as much as they probably should have been, but I don't really find that to be a real excuse.
Is
I
SNL
think
kind of
Mad
the
TV was one of those shows that needed promotion outside of the network because the network wasn't doing amazing. They could have promoted it all day long, and still not gotten a lot of people. But I think if they did, more build, well, they didn't have the internet going crazy at the time, but I mean, what are the options? More billboards, more appearances on other shows and stuff to bring them outside in is what Mad TV needed.
SNL's kind of the exception to the rule too. They're kind of the only wide-spanning successful sketch show. I mean, Fridays existed for a few years. That didn't last. The State didn't last. Kids in the Hall. I guess there was a Kids in the Hall movie. Maybe you've seen Brain Candy. It's a movie.
It's a movie.
It is a movie.
Oh, Canada, Kids in the Hall are revered up here.
Hey, did anybody see Hacks?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, my mind was blown that they said, hey, what if we start going on and using our website, our internet stuff to promote the show the next night? And our networks actually doing that? Because that's a brilliant idea. Instead of showing clips the next day, we're going to show a clip of something that's going to happen the day before. And then so instead of doing the show live or doing the show at 5 and then airing it at 11, you record your show Monday, tease it, and then air that episode on Tuesday. And I'm like, that was just flipping brilliant.
I believe Seth Meyers has done a few promos for day drinking with various celebrities. For the most part, I don't think they do that because of the nature of late night, which is, hey, you got to tune in and see what's going to happen. And then it goes viral the next day if it's going to go viral.
Right.
If it could be a matter of a mindset shift and it could work, just no one's really doing it right now unless it's like, we have this guest. Well, we're not going to know what the conversation is until the guest shows up.
They did it with Gutfeld.
With who?
Gutfeld.
I think it's good to try out different things. I definitely think economically, if some of those shows did weeks at a time and in certain states and arenas or big theaters and were charging money for people to show up that aren't used to seeing famous people, that they could maybe make some I know that this is probably not, but if WWE, they go on the road and their gates, for TV, they're still making a lot of money on the tickets. And if you can go to a place like a state, most states you do not see famous people that if a late night host has Sandler and a band, whoever it is, music person, all these 3 or 4 people, to have that as an economic way. Plus you could sell limited merch at the venue. I just think people need to think out of the box and try different things.
Oh my God, that is such
How much
a
did
good idea.
WWE get for their Netflix deal? How many billions?
Oh
That's a great
gosh,
idea,
now they're
Mark.
getting more
From ESPN.
ESPN. I mean, it's.
I mean, even a secondary company like AEW, we're going way down the rabbit hole here. They're surviving through TNT, TBS, and Warner.
Sure.
Was it HBO Max now?
Yeah, I mean,
They're back to Max, HBO Max.
Yeah. I just definitely think trying out different things. I definitely think going on the road, even though it is expensive to go on the road, but if you're doing maybe you could do 2 tapings or something in an arena or something, or five, I don't know, or maybe 5 for the week, Monday through Friday or whatever. I don't know how much. I mean, I don't know if there's an FCC thing where I've never heard of a TV show charging money. I don't know why they don't for a tape-in and stuff. You could make money. People would pay people would be paying $500 or $1,000. I mean, they're free. They've always been free and stuff. But I definitely think with economics, my one thing I do think, because I think people need to change things around and try different things. I've always said this. The last couple of years, and I pitched this internally to somebody at Fallon that they should move to 8H and do the show in SNL. They could Monday, because SNL doesn't need to get in there till Thursday. You do now. The show's 4 days a week. You do. It's very similar to when Leno went out to New York and went into 8H and was this big discovery in '94 that we're gonna recreate this back in Burbank, and to play with that many people, having more people in there would do so much. I mean, the Tonight Show, it's 250. You could probably get with putting in more seats, at least 400 people in there, and having people up close to Jimmy, I think would really help the show. And I think people watching the show, there would be way more energy to play with, and they could just do double the shows on either that Monday or Wednesday. Seth Meyers right now is doing double shows, I think, on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But I just think people need to try out some stuff.
You absolutely melted my mind with the idea of a show like this going on the road the way that WWE does. And I mean, now nightly would be really difficult for something like that. But if you have a show that's maybe 2 nights a week or 3 nights a week or something like that, you could do it, and that would bring in that revenue stream because there would be merch there, the ticket sales, all the stuff that are around that. What a cool idea that is. Man, I love that because again, what's going on with stand up right now? More stand-ups are selling out arenas
It's true.
than in the history of
Yeah.
anything. You look at what Kill Tony is doing, which is really in some respects, Kill Tony is similar to a late night show. But it's got its own, it's not the traditional desk and this and that, but it is a late night show in some regards. It's got the DNA of some of these panel shows. And you look at the numbers that they are doing there, stationary or on the road, they're absolutely killing it. That's a phenomenal idea. And boy, if one of the networks, that absolutely could be that next step of evolution. I love that idea.
Things, and I haven't seen really them trying out much new things, but I definitely think if that's hopefully they start maybe implementing.
I wonder if the host will be able to adapt because you mentioned, Mark, about Leno going to New York and performing. Before that, his stage setup, he was really far away from the audience. He wasn't connecting. And it was that new New York setup that fixed it, more or less.
I left Colbert. When I was at Colbert, I was 107 people in the audience, and at least once a week we would have a tough audience that was just hard for him to get through the show. And he would be like, "Mark, what do you think of the audience? Like, why do you?" And it's just like it was. Then I left and they added 50 people, only 50 people more, and it was like a rock concert with 50 more people laughing.
Wow.
That was only 50 people. I mean, like whenever like people would go on the road, especially like whenever Conan or Letterman would go, the audiences usually were amazing.
Yep.
They're not jaded people normally. And they just, I don't know, for a host to do that and go in front of like when Kimmel or when Fallon I think was in Orlando and stuff, it's like, oh my goodness, it's so much.
Or when Conan
Being on
did
the road would just
Comic-Con.
interject so much more energy, and it would allow them to play just I don't know, just do some really fun pre-tapes and stuff like around the area wherever they are, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a great
No, these
idea.
are all phenomenal ideas. I know I appreciate your time here. I want to throw something out there because this is the pitch that I have for my next guest. And I've never really said it out loud. I have said it to the Letterman people a little bit because it's just, to me, it's such a no-brainer. I can't even, and maybe I'm just bent. And I know, well, I am bent, but maybe this is just, to me, it's a no-brainer, but to everybody else, it's kind of a ho-hum idea. I've got a few different people who I would love to see on my next guest. I mentioned Bill Burr and some of these other ones. Number one by far for me is Joe Rogan. And the reason for that is there's a bunch of reasons for that. Now he's the biggest broadcaster in the world. And that can't be disputed. In this polarized nation or world that we now live in, it's so funny. The people on the right think he's a liberal. The people on the left think he's, a wingnut conservative. And he's not either. Like, he's not either of those. He's got both sides who don't like him, but members of both sides who love him to the point where he is the biggest broadcaster on the planet in this new medium, long form podcasting. There is no one bigger. Then, where did he get his start? He is from one of the classes from the Comedy Store. Had to leave the Comedy Store because of speaking truth to power, ended up getting vindicated, coming back to the Comedy Store. To me, his bar, the Mothership, in Austin is absolutely a phenomenal force in stand up these days. The bar in there is called Mitzi's because he loves the Comedy Store so much. He just wanted to perfect the model and apparently is doing so. I've talked to a few comics who have performed at the Mothership. Never mind the fact that he is a kingmaker. You look at some of these people who do spots on Rogan, and the next day they get the Carson bump. I don't know that there is another broadcaster out there that has the Carson bump, but Joe has it. You ask Nikki Glazer what her life was before Rogan and then after and where she's at now. Like, and there are many other examples of that. Again, talking about Kill Tony, all kind of starts all there. To me, the idea of Dave being able to sit down, perhaps on the stage of the Mothership, with Joe, perhaps there's a Comedy Store alumni night, the night before or the night after that they can use for B-roll. Dave's the MC of that night. To me, that is just such a. It was funny. I talked to Rory Roarsgarden, the manager, comedy manager, Ray Romano's manager, longtime manager, and I told him the idea, and he just starts laughing and he goes, "Ha! You're thinking about this like a fan." I'm like, well, yeah, that's what this stuff is made for. If you make stuff for the fans like this, it could be compelling. And again, who
There's
is bigger
politics
than a
involved,
guy like
Mike.
that? I've just kind of stated my case. Am I nuts by throwing this out there, or is it too ambitious, too many moving parts? What's wrong with my picture here?
I think you're not reading the room.
In what way?
I think Joe Rogan is so controversial in a way where I don't think someone like Letterman would want to touch him, because then it would be seen as like, oh, Dave approves of this guy or likes this guy, whereas the way that my next guest has been so far is, oh, here are people I would like to learn more about. Usually they're fairly uncontroversial people. Granted, I'm sure there are people who would say Obama is very controversial, but there's no one here where we're like, why was this person on? Like, they absolutely should not be on. I'm now not
He had
going to
Howard
watch
Stern
any.
on.
Thank you.
Well, but time has faded Howard Stern's edge.
Howard is known for being really an more of an interviewer, and his persona changed. But yeah, like Jeff Bezos is so famous, but I couldn't see Dave, even though like the guy has changed the everything.
Yeah.
It's amazing what he accomplished. I don't know if that controversy if Dave would lean into someone like that.
No.
Probably not.
I
Like
don't see
yeah.
Dave being
So
curious
so you're right, Allison. Like I get
about
that.
controversy.
Is Rogan the biggest broadcaster on the planet because he's controversial? That's not the take that I like. I remember watching Private Parts, and one of the things in Private Parts where they talked about, they encapsulated in a beautiful little scene. They put out the factoid that was widely known within the industry, that Howard Stern's fans, the people who loved him, listened to him a certain amount of time. And the people who violently or vocally, I should say, detracted against him, listened to him more
Even
than
more.
his fans did, which is I'm delighted to this day by that. I think Rogan has some of that. I do think that Rogan has some of that, but he's got a lot of people. Like, he's the biggest broadcaster on the planet. And is that not how controversial is he if he's really the biggest? Like, is he really that controversial?
And people like watching train wrecks. So, and if you anger people, they're more likely to watch. I mean, we're living in a world we talk about the algorithm where Facebook and Twitter, because I'm not going to call it X, they are programmed to give you what you want to see or things that will provoke a reaction in you.
Right.
So if you show me something like I killed Tony when he was at the Donald Trump
Or you're talking about
party,
Tony
whatever.
Hinchcliffe.
Yes.
Yeah.
With his remarks about Puerto Rico being a terrible place, and
Well, the
I'm
joke,
not.
yeah. He made a
Well,
joke
it
that
was a
was
joke, but
ill-advised.
it was a joke that many felt was punching down.
Sure.
So it's that type of thing where that went viral. People want to check out what this guy is about, but it's not because, oh, I love him. Just because someone's getting attention doesn't make him actually popular.
That's interesting.
I don't know. With the exception of Mark Malkoff, Joe Rogan does an insane amount of. He knows a lot about his guests, and that's how he's able to comfortably have a long form conversation. With, I mean, he'll go up to what, 2 and 3 hours.
They do 3. The average is 3 hours.
It's unbelievable, a broadcaster that can do that. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, Stern is good with the research too, it seems.
Yeah,
He's
you can't just wing that.
What's up?
You can't just wing that.
No.
you've got to know the person very well. So,
What
and
were you
I
going to say,
think,
Mark?
Joe Rogan would be a smart move for Dave to have him on the show because I think a gazillion people would tune in to it.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
it would definitely get attention. I'm not sure.
um,
I don't
Yeah,
know
if
if
he
it's
would
the
do
right
that,
attention though.
or if has Rogan, since he's been this famous, I mean, has he been on any late night show? Are they not asking him to be on, or does he not want to go on, or is he?
He hates the format. He hates the okay, we got 5 minutes here, then a commercial, and then we got 3 minutes here, and actually make sure
So
we plug that.
to be a guest, he turns them down. They are offering him bookings.
He's mentioned that many times. Like he
Okay.
went on Rob Lowe's podcast because he's a friend of his and some other ones, but now he chooses to kind of say, which again I just respect the heck out of because this is Dave. This was Dave back in the day. Anything I have to say, I'm going to say on the show, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that perspective. But something like this would be different to me because it would be a long form deal. And I mean, I look at a guy like Kanye, and Dave handled that swimmingly. Even though beforehand, I love they showed the clip beforehand when Kanye was on Mike's guest, and Dave was like literally going, "I am so nervous," like talking about how nervous he was. I don't think he would need to be with Joe. The reason being, they go so deep on stand up. Like, I mean, how many of Joe Rogan's podcasts is it just a stand up where they literally for 3 hours dissect the process of stand up? And that's really all it is, you know? And then I just, to me, I do understand why perhaps Dave is in a place in his career where, um, I don't want to disparage in any way when I say this, but the idea of playing it safe. And perhaps this one here, he wouldn't be able to play safe enough because of some of the stuff Allison is talking about.
Mm.
But
I
at the
also
same,
think Dave regrets the way he handled the Kanye interview to a certain extent because there were clips that were edited out that did get circulated where it's like, why didn't Dave push back on the whole Hitler thing further?
mm,
And it's a guest on your show, and you're trying to have a show, so you can't push back too hard, otherwise, and taping, I'm walking off. But it's also incredibly offensive what he was saying.
yeah, I don't know.
So Dave just kind of sat there and was like, where do we go from here?
I don't know. I think I don't know. I'll push back a little bit on that because like when Kanye was talking about, and don't get me wrong, my wife is building like a men's mental wellness app. Her and her team are building this. Like Kanye, he brought up a point about how men many times are unfairly treated in certain situations and whatnot. But in the way that he did it, it was comparing to what women go through. And Dave pushed back and he said, "Hey," and he put an exclamation point on a certain thing, got applause, and Kanye even sat back and said, "Oh, you got me." Okay, well, you got me, right? Like, so that is one thing I do appreciate about Dave. I don't think with Joe it would have to go down that path at all, because I think they're two very, very different people. I was just using it as an example, saying that it's not like Dave hasn't interviewed controversial people before and done a good job doing it. But anyway, that's the one that's number one on my list. Did anybody else come up with any names that they want to throw out there for my next guest? Adam.
Dave Grohl for me. I would
Oh,
love
there it
for
is.
Dave Grohl.
Makes
Yes.
sense. That makes sense.
mhm.
Dave Grohl has kind of gone silent in the last few years after Taylor Hawkins' death, after his mother's death. Of course, there's the
Secret
drummer
Love
controversy,
Child.
Yep.
Secret Love Child.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of meat on the bone there. It is a little tabloidy, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Dave Grohl would be great. And you could go back to Virginia and DC and playing at the local clubs, and
Mhm.
I think that would be a great show. But I don't know how likely that is. And it is a little tabloidy, but I think it would be really good,
I think it'll be
especially
great
since
too.
Grohl has gone silent lately.
Yep. Would love to see
And
that one.
to the Joe Rogan thing, I have zero interest. So sorry,
Yep.
Mike.
No,
He's-
don't be.
He's a great UFC commentator. He's done a great job with his show, but I don't want to hear anything from Joe Rogan ever again. I'm done. It's too much.
Mhm.
And an interview with Letterman isn't going to change that, and it's just going to add more. So yeah, I think it's too much of someone.
There you
I'm
go.
sick of hearing of Joe Rogan.
There we go.
Sorry,
I'd like
Mike.
to see Conan go on the show.
Yeah.
That would work.
He
Was
had
that
him.
for
He
Clyde?
talked to him at the very beginning. he followed him on his path. How's the show going? How's this? And the after he left the Tonight Show, that interview is one of the best. But since
Yep.
then, I mean, Conan is one of those people that just kept and kept and kept evolving. And then it's like, when he received his Mark Twain prize, and he's like, I never dreamed I would, if you told me that I would have received this from David Letterman, he's just like, I would have called you a liar, or however he phrased it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love to see Dave talking to Conan about really what it's like now being him with all the success that he achieved, because nobody doubted himself more than Conan did, I think.
I think that's a really good choice. I don't know if he probably wouldn't do it, but I think like Lorne Michaels going back to Canada with Dave,
Great.
be interesting, and
you can involve Paul that way.
yeah,
Yep.
they had I think a pretty cordial relationship, except when with the whole Norm thing with when he got fired and Dave being like Lauren and why didn't he do anything? And then Lauren retorted, I didn't see you, Dave, saving Bonnie Hunt from when his canceling that show. So, but yeah, but other than that, I think seemed pretty cordial.
Lauren was a pretty early guest on Late Night too. I think around 82, 83 or so.
Yeah, he didn't have anything really going on. Maybe the new show, but he was not the EP at SNL anymore, I don't think.
No, he wasn't. I saw that recently, and he was promoting a movie or something.
Is it kind of universally thought that Letterman maybe saw himself as the Johnny Carson role, and he saw Conan as his true successor? Meaning, whenever you look at old clips of Letterman, Conan was on that show a lot. There's a joke they both ran out of the basement. They both grabbed jokes from the same file about
Hey,
Bob
can I borrow
Dole.
a Bob Dole's old joke?
Yes, exactly. So do we see Dave as, do you think he saw himself in that mentor role like Johnny was to him, or do you think he didn't see himself that way?
I think
Mark?
he just felt
I
bad
want
for
to know if
Conan
Mark
at
wants
the
to say
beginning.
about that. What was that, Allison?
Sure.
I always heard that Letterman hated when people would and I didn't think that this would be the case when people would be like, I see you're my Johnny Carson and that whole role. I don't know for
And
whatever
he doesn't
reason.
like that.
I think he changed eventually. He did, but yeah, I think he's probably by now. It seems like he's accepted that he is that, and I definitely think he is, whether he wants to admit it or not, is that guy.
He did a lot of crossover stuff. Like they had the standby audience for the Late Show go over to Late Night one evening, and they featured on each other's shows a lot. So it felt to me it was very similar.
Just like faxing the joke. Faxing the joke.
Exactly. Just like faxing the joke.
Yes.
The exact
Whatever
same thing.
happens,
Yep.
this left here, funny.
You're funny. Yeah.
Allison, what were you going to say on that? I know you're a huge Conan fan.
I think at the beginning, Dave felt bad for Conan because everyone was using him as a punching bag, and
True.
Dave was seeing Conan not as this unknown kid, but as a person who is being beat down by the media. So I think there was some of that going on there.
Yeah,
Also,
I think, is it a thing too that he wanted to keep his franchise going with Late Night since he started it?
do
you think there's some ownership
there's
in
some
that
of
show?
that too.
Mark, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say when Conan premiered in September of '93, I mean, Letterman at that point when he premiered in August, I mean, David had 11 and a half years at NBC. Then he had the morning show. Then he was guest hosting for Johnny, and it was just like, he had so much practice that he was just, I mean, he was exploded and it was the biggest thing in television. And to have that contrast to Conan figure in and out as he went. But what I remember when he came out, I think it was February of '94 when Dave went on Conan's show, and it was just incredible. And I think it probably did save the show. Remember that Friday? I think it was a Friday. And yeah, it was really nice that Dave did that. He did certainly didn't have to, and that he would have Conan on it and Andy as well. And I think he did feel like have some empathy as much as he did with, even though with Tom Snyder bumping him, taking the slot of Tomorrow, which didn't really, they were going to get rid of it anyway, but
They were.
Because Rona Barrett came in and ruined the show.
Yeah.
We're going to do a shout out real quick to our boy Rob Cates, who, when he finds out who the secret guest was, is going to absolutely be beside himself. Rob is he's working for his local television station, and he takes the Sunday shift a couple times a month, and could not make it today. He's done news directing and all sorts of stuff in his station that he's at. But Rob did throw in a couple of ideas. One of them was Conan, of course. The other two, Martin Short and Paul Schaefer. And the idea that maybe, even at the same time or something like that, you could amalgamate those two into a very fine episode. I think that would be good. Rob Cates, we got to get the pre-orders for your books on his Facebook groups. He's got 3 Facebook groups, I believe. He's got the Rat Pack one that has tens of thousands of members, the late night or the David Letterman fans, and there's a Carson one that he has as well. So we got to make that the case. Mark, if people want to buy Love Johnny Carson, where is the best place to pre-order right now? Is there an Amazon link? Is there a better spot for it? Can people get signed versions of the book?
Oh goodness,
where's the best
thank
place
you
to
for
pre-order?
asking. Yeah, it's all over the place. I mean, you can go to Amazon, you can go to Target.com or Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Astoria Bookshop where I am. I sign. People have actually asked me, believe it or not, if they could buy signed copies, and I am, you're very nice. So yeah, they're going to be selling signed copies. They currently are
Awesome.
available for pre-order, so I'm going to do that. And yeah, like I have some Sinatra stories, so maybe that'll work for his Sinatra Facebook group. But I'm really happy with the book, and yeah, the pre-orders would help me so much. And like I have stuff about Tom Waits, stuff that like I don't think has ever really been talked about too much um with Carson, and stuff that's kind of like beloved within the Dave um universe, and as I count myself one of them for sure. So hopefully I hope people like it. But yeah, I would definitely appreciate the pre-order love. I know there's a bunch of other places that or have it as well, local places and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. So Love Johnny Carson, look for the pre-order, wherever your bookseller persuasion might lead you. Very, very exciting stuff. Before we close up this episode here, does anybody else have anything else they want to throw out there? Very rare that we got Mark here. Any other questions? Anything that we want to throw out before we call her a day? Allison.
2 things. You didn't ask me for my suggestions, and I have a whole note card here.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry,
Wow.
buddy. I'm sorry. I was just waiting for people to jump in. Sorry, Allison. That's
Come
my
on,
bad.
Mike.
Also, as we were talking, it just dawned on me that in some ways, my next guest has become the successor to Inside the Actors Studio
Sure.
with James Lipton.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
similar.
Sure. I always thought it was a successor to the Tomorrow Show, but the idea of the long form and again this is why podcasts are so popular these days is people crave the long form. Couldn't agree more. Who are some of your ideas for my next guest?
So I had Conan on my list. I was thinking Mark Maron, which
Oh,
kind of along the lines of a Jeff Rogan, only
Joe Rogan. Yeah, but Maron
Joe Rogan,
appearances
yeah.
on Late Show, so the idea of there's some connection there.
I think Chuck Lorre would be interesting, kind of like the Lorne Michaels, just a huge impact on American culture.
Yep.
Um, Stephen King, I think, would be interesting as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
That would be an interesting one. If Dave got curious about it, that's a deep rabbit hole.
Yes.
Next
So-
week, you know what? Actually, this will be time travel. Okay, so it's next week for you guys. Last week, for anybody who's listening to or watching this, we actually had Dan Cashman, the host of The Night Show, which is the last regional late night show. And it's in Bangor, Maine, is where they record that episode, that show. And David Letterman was his last guest on his last show. And so we had Dan on, and we talk about Stephen King quite a bit in that episode as well. That's a fantastic answer as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's great. All right, anything else, anybody? Are we there?
Oh, thanks for having me back on. It's always fun.
Oh my gosh, all of you. Y'all friends of the show. You're all like, I love the fact that we have this kind of community of people and whatnot in our little corner. And then of course the big corner of latenighter.com. Thanks all to Jed and his team there. And Adam, I appreciate you so much. Allison, appreciate you. Darin, thank you. And Mark, you taking time out today to do this. I'm tickled pink by it. We all are. Thank you so much. We will support everything that you do.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, if you want to watch a real podcast after you watch this one, go subscribe to Inside Late Night, because that's the one you want to watch. That's the one you want to listen to.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you so much for taking time to be here today. I love you.
Oh, no, this was so much fun. I very rarely get to have these type of conversations with people that love the medium so much. And no, this was a pleasure. It was so nice seeing all of you, and I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. That has been another episode of the Letterman Podcast with Mike Chisholm. Coincidentally, I am Mike Chisholm. Thank you and good night.
Overcoat and underpants.